Line and wash is one of the easiest watercolor techniques that you can learn. It's a really forgiving approach, and there's a lot of room for you to adjust things, change things, and improve things. And even if you make mistakes, you can easily hide your mistakes by using appropriate techniques. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of my line and wash artwork and discuss the strengths and weaknesses and talk about some of the ways in which you can improve your line and wash watercolor artwork. So freedom is quite important for an artist. So what you do is basically you express freedom through your drawings, and it's really important for a watercolor line and wash artist. So let's take a look at a couple of my artwork and think about freedom. So this specific artwork is an example for how I express freedom through line and wash artwork. This is done without using a reference. So I did not use any reference to draw this. What I do is I imagine certain objects, pots in this case, and a fence, and I put them together and apply colors freely to create this drawing. So you start with the central object here and draw everything else around it, and then apply the colors, and it will give you a really nice painting where you freely draw your lines and just try to practice. So let me show you how far you can bring this approach. So this specific drawing I did uses exactly the same technique. So you have a couple of pots here. These are the key objects that I drew. I start with these objects and then I build the rest around it. So you see here the lines I use appear everywhere in the drawing, and some of the shapes, the leaves, are similar to each other. And if you take a close look at the ground here, these are really simple lines, and what I do is I create a cohesive sketch that shows a scenario and then apply colors to it. So I'm using really basic colors here, a little bit of brown with a bit of red here, and some basic green colors and a bit of brown and yellow, and play with the values, dark and see the dark values and the light values to create a sense of depth, and it gives you a really nice piece of art. So this is one of the things I suggest for beginners. If you're a beginner and if you're interested in learning line and wash watercolor, please try to draw without a reference. Start with the simple object and build everything around it, and apply some simple washes, and you can create really interesting artwork using this approach. So the second aspect that I want to discuss today is what many people call looseness. Making your artwork loose is quite important if you want to create painterly artistic work. So let's talk about looseness. Here are some examples where I try to draw loosely. So this is a sketch that shows a couple of tomatoes. As you can see, I really like to draw simple objects. You can learn, especially if you're a beginner, you can learn a lot by drawing simple objects. So simple objects here, I apply basic colors, yellow, and on top of that, on wet color, I apply darker and deeper values. And I create this background effect by applying colors on wet paint. So as you can see, colors mix together and create their own patterns, and watercolor is really nice when it comes to creating these kind of blended color effects. If you take a close look here, it's really nice. The green color of the stem goes to the background, so there's no really control over how colors work together. I let the colors do its own thing and go beyond the outlines and create its own appeal. So this is I think this is a really good example of how you can draw freely using watercolor and do not try to control things too much. So this is one of my favorite drawings in my watercolor line and wash examples. This is a really nice coffee cup with a saucer, and you will see I apply the same approach here. You can see that the colors are controlled to some level, however still they're not really precise. They if you take a closer look, the colors go outside the lines here, and the colors are not really precise. The shadows are not really precise, and even here you can see the colors are not really precise. The lines are quite shaky, quite wobbly. You can see the lines are not really straight or precise, and the background blends different kinds of colors, different values together to create a really nice artwork. So one of the important things about loose paintings or loose artwork is that if you look at individual components of your artwork, they do not really appeal. So for example, if you look at this shadow here, now it may not really look really nice if you just focus on this shadow. This shadow, similar quality, it's not really controlled. It's not really controlled, and the colors do their own thing. And however, when you look at the drawing as just one piece, it has some sort of like real quality to it, and you can see the shades, the shadows work really well if you look at the artwork as a single piece. So I think that's the effect that works really well if you like to master line and wash watercolor technique. So this is another example. So even here I do not really control the colors really well. As you can see, if you take a closer look here, the colors go outside the object, and take a look here, the colors go outside the lines. Even here, colors go outside the lines. So it's not really a controlled drawing. Of course the lines are controlled so that you create the impression that these are two shoes. However, the rest, especially the application of color, is not really controlled. I just apply colors and let them mix, and just keep the important bits like these white spots, just to give the impression that I'm working with light and darkness in the drawing. The third aspect is blending colors. So let's take a look at some examples where I simply play or experiment with colors. Being bold in terms of blending different kinds of colors is quite important for a watercolor artist, and when you learn and practice the art of blending different colors, it works really well, and it will help you to create really impressive paintings. Now, if you look at this example, you will see I am mixing different kinds of colors to create a vibrant background. Start with orange and bring in a bit of green and more green here and blue here. So it's a lot of different colors, but I use a lot of water to mix them, so it creates this really nice background. If you take a look at this object too, the colors blend really well here, and I use a darker value here and here to create some depth. However, in general, in terms of colors, this work for me because it has really nice colors working together. Here's another example where I use colors not to the same level as the previous one. However, I play with colors here. So you can see yellow here and a bit of orange here and darker red colors here. I'm using green and red here, blending different kinds of colors together. If you see, this is a really small, really simple painting. I have this kettle here with the mug, and that's all I'm drawing. A really simple background. I do not try to create precise shadows. but the kettle works really well, and this white bit, I didn't even apply any colors, it's just the color of the paper. This side has darker values just to create the impression that the lights are coming from this side. I could have made the shadows here a little darker. However, in general, simple color mixing works really well here. A third quality, and also this is related to the previous qualities that I discussed, is that you should not be trying to control your drawing too much. Don't try to be precise, just express your freedom. So if you take this sketch, for example, it works as a drawing in my view. However, it's too much control. So the lines are okay. However, there's a lot of space potential for the colors to mix with each other and let colors bleed to some level. And also here on the apples, I could have applied a completely different color from the other side of the color wheel to bring in more energy. It works together. However, I could have been more creative and applied more colors and let your art or the colors do the work. And the same applies to this. So in this drawing, the lines are too precise. I've created too many tight lines here, and as you can see, it's a lot of control. For some artists, this might work, but if you're trying to create simple artistic line and wash art, this may be too strict and too controlled. Now, if you compare this previous drawing with this one, you can see a clear difference. You can see the lines here and the colors bleed outside the lines. However, here colors are controlled precisely and they stay within the line. So that's the main difference between these two pieces of work. This one is fluid, less controlled and loose. This one is controlled and the colors are positioned exactly where they should be. So I'm heavily depending on the reference to draw this. However, I do not really depend on the reference to draw this. So that's the main difference between these two, and I prefer this approach more than this approach. So the final one I wanted to show you is this particular drawing, and I don't think it works as a drawing. One may disagree with me. However, I think this is too much. It's too many lines and the colors do not really appear here, and I don't even apply colors here because it may make the drawing look more messy. So in my view, this does not really work together. It's too much lines and it's more like line work rather than watercolor work. So so these are the paintings I wanted to review today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video.